Hello there, everybody. That map was a little bit frozen, but welcome to Global Travel Update for the second Wednesday of December 24. Hope you're having a great time where you happen to be. Let me tell you where we happen to be. I'm actually docked at the Rock. I'm on board the Windstar Legend here in the Rock of Gibraltar, a place where two seas meet, the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, two continents meet, and three countries meet. Amazing place in history and well worth the visit. I've been coming since the mid 80s. And of course, a lot of things have changed here in terms of the infrastructure. But one thing that hasn't changed, we'll show you a little bit of video taken earlier today. If you're coming to Gibraltar, you're going to find these guys, about 300 of them, the largest free roaming primates in all of Europe. Yep, it's the monkeys. Now you're noticing I'm keeping my distance. I'm not afraid of them, but they're little thieves. See what I mean? Yeah, okay, fine. They're little thieves. They're gonna grab my glasses. They're gonna grab my watch. They're very curious. Now he doesn't care. Well, we're having some trouble with our signal here. Not a problem. Let me tell you what you almost saw. That was me at the top of the rock, visited by some of the notorious monkeys here, the largest group of free-roaming primates in Europe. And these monkeys are not shy. They're little thieves. If you're not careful, they'll take your glasses, your rings, your watches, but people come to see them anyway. Anyway, back to where we are, and lots of stuff to talk about, and of course, answering your questions as we roll along. I've always said, friends don't let friends fly basic economy. You know why? You have no rights. You might as well be a member of the Witness Relocation Program. Plus, you don't get to check a bag, you don't get to pick a seat, and you're in boarding group 92. And now to add insult to injury, Air Canada has just announced that if you're flying their basic economy, remember, you're always allowed by most airlines, even in basic economy, to have a personal item and a small carry-on. Now, according to Air Canada, if you're flying their basic economy, you get a small little handbag and no carry-on. And in fact, if your carry-on has wheels or rollers, you're charged $25, $36 for the second one. But it's even worse if you don't register online that you're carrying a carry-on when you make your reservation. Guess what? It's $46. Now, let's do the math. And this doesn't just apply to Air Canada. It applies to all airlines, and that's assuming you still want to fly basic economy, which you don't. If you go up to the next fare category, because when you go online, the first fare category that comes up is the lowest. It's almost always basic economy. And before you know it, you're so excited that you got a lower fare, you actually do a disservice to yourself. Go to the next fare category, which in most cases on domestic flights, it's only $30 more. And for $30 more, you're no longer in boarding group 9. You actually get mileage for what that's worth. Not a lot, but at least you can say you got mileage. And you get to pick a seat. So do yourself a favor. On any airline, don't fly basic economy. And if you're on Air Canada, well, I made the case not to do it there at all. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, and we talked about this on the air before, but now it gets even crazier. Are you a frequent flyer? Do you obsess over elite status? Do you want to always get that upgrade? This is the time of the year that a lot of airlines basically engage in a competition of status match, so that if you're a diamond medallion on Delta, other airlines will give you that level of the highest order on their airline for at least 3 months, provided you fly the airline, and the same thing vice versa. There's a lot of reciprocity there. And in theory, it sounds great, because one of the reasons why you want to be an executive platinum member at American or a diamond medallion or a 1K at United is because of those coveted upgrades, the complimentary upgrades you get on domestic flights. But now let's do a little history. Back in 2011, Delta Airlines only sold 14% of their first class seats on average. That meant there were a lot of seats available for premium upgrades to their best and most loyal flyers. You know what it is today? Delta Airlines is selling 88% of their seats. So even if you're at the highest tier level of their frequent flyer program, the odds of you getting an upgrade have diminished exponentially. That's why when you get to the gate, you see 65 people standing by. They're all mega warriors, right? They're all frequent flyers. They're all standing by for a seat that may not even exist. So the question then is, so what's the value of elite status if you don't get to use it? That would be a rhetorical question. American Airlines, for their part, has just told their members they can buy essentially an upgrade, just like Delta's selling them at the last minute, which is why they're selling so many more of their first class seats. You can buy the upgrade with American by cashing in miles. Once again, if you're one of those uber frequent flyers at American, your odds of getting an upgrade as a complimentary upgrade, which is why you join the program, not so good. So take that into consideration, even if you're going to play the status match game. Okay, now, speaking of playing a game, this one's bizarre. You saw the video we ran last week about airline seats that supposedly recline but don't. That video I shot on British Airways where brand new A320, I'm sitting in the window seat. There's a little button on the armrest. I pushed it and the seat went back that much. Did you see it? I'll do it again. Seat went back that much. What's the point? It's just ornamental. And guess what? In a most recent Harris poll, this is bizarre, 41% of those surveyed want a ban on seats that recline. How about that? Why? Because of another problem. Not the problem that the seats that I showed you that didn't recline. No, there's another problem. The airlines have crammed so many more seats into their planes these days that the seats that do recline are essentially weapons aimed at the person behind them. Right? Either the back of that seat's going into your neck or your legs, and God forbid you be sitting there having a meal, you're now wearing the meal. 41%, excuse my cough, 41% of those surveyed don't want the seats to recline at all. That's not really what they want. That's what they're apparently willing to tolerate. That tells you a lot. Here's the problem. Where's the FAA? The FAA should be coming up with a standardization of the total number of allowable seats just for safety reasons on an airplane. But here's how the FAA determines safety on an airplane. If you add more seats, you have to add a certain number of seats, you have to add an additional flight attendant. That's not safety. Here's safety. Can you get out of the plane in less than 90 seconds with half the exits blocked in the dark? And the answer is, of course you can't. You can't get out of the plane in less than 90 seconds on a normal landing. So where is the FAA? They have consistently refused to redo the requirements and the standards, and the airlines just keep adding more seats. So it's not just about whether your seat reclines, it's about whether you can get off the plane. This is nuts. Let us hope that the year 2025, regardless of political party, regardless of who's sitting in the Oval Office, that common sense prevails at the US DOT and at the FAA, and they start doing regulation in those areas that actually apply to what? Safety. We're not asking them to deregulate any further or to regulate any further. That's not on the table. But when it comes to rulemaking applying to safety and basic passenger rights, let her rip. Which brings me to my next topic up for bids here on The Price is Right, and that is the US DOT, as you know, I've talked about this before, has proposed new rules for giving all of us immediate compensation if our plane is delayed domestically, and that compensation ranges from about $200 to $775, depending on the length of the delay, and the clock starts ticking at the 3-hour delay mark. So if your plane's delayed by 3 hours, you get X. And if your plane's delayed by 19 hours, you get an X plus. Okay, so far so good. And it requires, by the way, immediate compensation, not in the form of a future flight credit or a voucher, but cash, right? Negotiable currency. Okay, sounds great. Only one small problem. When a federal agency announces a rule, there's a 60-day period for comments before the rule is finalized and enacted. Let's look at the calendar. By the time that 60-day period of comments has expired, we will have a new administration. And all bets are off as to whether or not they're going to embrace any of the rules or regulations from the previous administration. Once again, the hope is, like I just said about the FAA, that safety, security, and common sense will transcend politics, and some passenger rights might actually happen. You know, you don't have to be a Republican to have an issue with a flight delay. You don't have to be a Democrat to have an issue with a flight delay. You just have to be living and on the plane to have an issue with a flight delay. So let's get with it, folks, and make sure these rules get formalized sometime at the end of January, early February. Okay, moving right along, we got some other stuff. Amtrak. Want to hear some good news for them? They need it. They just had a record year. 32.8 million people took Amtrak up until now in 2024, and that represents a 15% increase. That's whopping over 2023. All right, that's the good news. Here's the crazy news. The tracks are still bad. They haven't done anything. We're not getting anywhere close to high-speed rail. Why? Amtrak, with very few exceptions, doesn't own the tracks. The freight lines do. And the freight lines don't give a you-know-what about Amtrak. In fact, they don't give a you-know-what about high-speed rail. Why would they? So, what's going on? Amtrak still suffers from a miserable on-time performance record because all their trains have to pull over to some siding to let a 100-car freight train lumber on through. Right now, there's a court case pending. We hope that transitions the new administration, where the U.S. Justice Department sued one of the big freight companies, claiming that they were discriminating against Amtrak's ability to provide an on-time service. And you want to know something? The case has merit. So I'm a huge fan of riding Amtrak, always have been. I'm a huge train fan, always have been. Although with Amtrak, I bring at least 2 books along because I know I'm going to have time to read them. Let's hope that Amtrak prevails in this case. They deserve to. You deserve to. There's no reason why Amtrak can't be on time if the freight trains readjust their schedules. And in the meantime, let's make great national train service a national mandate. We need it. There are certain parts of the country that would absolutely benefit from high-speed rail, both from a commerce position and a consumer position. And 2025 should be the year that we actually get serious about it. Okay, moving right along on that. We talked about status earlier and frequent flyer programs. It's still a mess with the airline clubs. The old Groucho Marx line that you would never join a club that would have you as a member. How about not being able to get into a club even if you are a member? There's your problem. The airlines have oversold the programs. Delta is notorious for this. There are still lines of 80 or 90 people at 5:30 in the morning at LaGuardia trying to get into the club. And they're all members, but they can't get in, right? Here's the wildest one. Recently at the Atlanta Delta Sky Club, it was a 20-minute line to get out. This is nuts. Now, we see other competing areas like American Express with their Centurion clubs, and Chase has got clubs now. Capital One is starting airline clubs or airport clubs. That's all good. JetBlue's just announced for the first time in its history they're going to open their own VIP club at JFK and at Boston. That's good. But will they be able to handle the numbers? And what determines your status? I've had an American Express Platinum card for more than 50 years. I finally got up the courage to try one of their Centurion clubs. And you know what I was told when I got there? I could only stay for 45 minutes. What the hell is that? It defeats the entire purpose of why you're a member, right? I'm sorry to just dump on American Express again, but there's one more reason why I don't leave home with it. Guys, if you're going to make a promise, deliver on the promise. Don't sell me on something that you can't deliver. That goes for the airlines and for the credit card companies. That's what's going on in the club department. Now, here I am in Gibraltar on board the Windstar Legend. We've been sailing through the Med in the winter which is an interesting distinction. I've said this before, but this proves the point that seasonality is evaporating as it should. And winter cruises in the Med are a pretty cool thing. No, you're not going to get a suntan and you're not going to go swimming, but you're going to get a whole lot better cultural immersion, no crowds, better service, better rates, better space. And where I am right now, in the harbor here in Gibraltar, we're going to be sailing in about 3 hours. In the summer months, they'll get up to 4 cruise ships a day that overwhelm the infrastructure on this island. Today, we're here on this ship with about 128 passengers, and that's it. We own the place. And what a delight it was to visit a destination without standing in line or queuing for a bus. Hopefully, other countries will get the message. They can adjust their seasons. Other companies will get the message. They will extend their itineraries. And will this solve over tourism? No. But will it put a dent in it? You bet. And later on, I'll have some more things to say about that as we get ready to welcome a new year. Let's start scrolling down and saying hello to some folks. All right. Jim and Harriet. Now they're from Richmond. Now they're first this week. Hello, guys. Mary Jo Smith is saying hello from Pennsylvania. Sue's saying hi from Bellingham. Hello to you. Priya's in. Cold Chicago. Well, it's about time. Okay, Melanie's saying enjoy Gibraltar and happy holidays from Miami. We did enjoy Gibraltar, and now we're sailing out tonight to a Spanish destination, Malaga. And then next week, I'll be joining you from a destination that doesn't make any sense about where we are right now, but will make sense next week. And it's not the U.S. I'm staying overseas. Robin's saying greetings as always from Williamsburg, Virginia. Tim's saying, where can I find rental car reposting deals? Tim, why don't you explain that to me? What do you mean by reposting? I'd love to know more about that. Camilla's saying hi from Tucson. Michelle's saying hi from, Rudesheim, Germany. Okay. April's saying greetings from Las Vegas. Right back to you, April. Okay. Robin wants to know about the Mexican tourist tax, $42 per person. Here's what's going on. Countries try this all the time. Some of it is based on reciprocity. I remember I had to pay $125 to enter Argentina. And when I asked why, they were told, or I was told, America was charging Argentinians $125, right? So we're not charging Mexicans $42. There's no fee like that. But they're trying to generate revenue. What they don't realize is you reach a point of diminishing returns, and if the numbers drop off because people don't want to pay it, it'll go away. Remember, this is taxation without representation, clearly, right? It's no different, by the way, than a city putting an occupancy tax on your hotel room. You don't live there. You don't vote there, but you can vote with your wallet. Now, this tax is cruise ships and coming into airports, so it's a little crazy. We're going to monitor this and let you know what happens. All right. Tanya says, with 2025 being the Jubilee year, how far in advance do you recommend booking a flight to Rome in July? I would do it now because you know when things are going to happen. You know, it's no different than figuring out what day President's Day weekend is, or Thanksgiving, or Christmas, or July 4th, or Labor Day. No surprises there. And Rome's going to be packed. I was just in Rome 2 weeks ago. Best time of the year to be there. Everybody's talking about the Jubilee. So you know what? Book it now. Okay. And Boston Bob says, greetings from where America was born. Gee, Boston Bob, would that be Boston? All right. Joy saying, hi, Peter, heading to Dubai in a couple months. Are there any shots that you need to get before traveling there? Let me start by saying I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV or the internet. You need to check with your own first personal physician on this based on your own medical history. So I'm not going to make any medical recommendations for you. But if you're asking if there are required shots to Dubai, my understanding is that there are not. But that doesn't mean I told you not to do it. Check with your doctor. All right. Maria says, the seats are disgusting. Iberia is horrible. Iberia is an interesting airline. It reminds you of the old days of Alitalia and a number of other European carriers on routes in which they compete heavily on intercontinental flights, meaning New York to Madrid, or in the old days, New York to Rome on Alitalia. They were more competitive in the way they configured their planes. They were more comfortable. But once you landed in the host country, they became a different airline. I can tell you that flying Iberia within Europe or flying Iberia to LA or New York is a completely different experience. And your point is well taken. Okay, Melanie says, referring to American status, platinum is a sweet... Hello, it's a cough. Platinum is a sweet spot for me. Gives you one world airline lounge access on international flights and access to extra legroom seats. Beyond that, I don't bother, as the free upgrades really don't come through anymore. My point exactly. Now that AA is offering upgrades for sale in their app, and the pilots get first dibs under their new contract. You're absolutely right. The argument, or any kind of compelling argument for being a member of their elite status, is being eroded by the week. So it's nice that you get into some lounges. I'm a member of the high tier of United, so it means I get Star Alliance Gold, which means I can go into lounges at Lufthansa and other members of the Star Alliance, which is fine. But in terms of, my goal in life is not to go to a lounge. My goal in life is to have a pleasant flight. And the less amount of time I can spend in an airport, the better. But if I can't get the upgrade, and I can never get the upgrade because they've oversold everything, all I can do is frame that card and make believe it actually gives me value. All right, let's keep going. Maria's saying, you can't get out of the skinny, right, you can't get out of the skinny seats jammed in 4 across. How about the skinny seats jammed 5 across? Yeah, you got lucky. If it's 4 across, it was either an A340 or an A330. But if you get to the A350s or the old 747s, you're not 4 across, you're 5 across. Colleen says, happy holidays from San Francisco, right back at you. Debbie's saying, greetings from rainy New Jersey. Okay. Gina's saying hi from San Diego. David saying, Southwest, will they regain their glory? I sure hope so. Southwest has done a couple of things now. And we predicted they would do it, right? No more open seating. Starting next year, they're going to go to assigned seating plus premium seating in the front of the plane, which you will pay for. They haven't yet touched their policy on allowing you to check 2 bags for free. I don't think they're going to do that right away, although, believe it or not, it is on the table because the investor group that's sort of calling the shots there now is all about revenue. However, let's hope that Southwest figures it out because I happen to think that up until recently, they had a great reputation. They were dependable. They were efficient. They only flew one type of aircraft, which was a benefit for everybody. You didn't have to cross-train pilots or mechanics or ramp agents or anybody. And that's why they were able to turn their planes around faster than most other airlines, which is why they were able to operate as efficiently as they were. We want them to operate as efficiently today as they used to be, and let's see what happens. But right now, your question is well put. Maria says it's called greed. Okay. Scott's saying hi from Jacksonville. Okay. David says Priority Pass is so much better abroad. Do you expect its domestic offerings will soon improve? I don't. A lot of us get a Priority Pass in conjunction with one of our other credit cards, like Chase Sapphire or Capital One, the Venture card, and other cards. I agree with you. The actual Priority Pass offerings in certain locations like Los Cabos and certain other countries that I've been in lately, I have to tell you, they're great. They're great. And they rival a lot of the airline clubs. That's overseas. Domestically, they have a long way to go. So we'll be watching that. Jack saying good morning from Indiana. Jeff saying traveling to Bali in March. When should I make the airline reservations? Right now, you know how to say about 54 days out. So about another 10, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, that's when you do it. Scott saying, Question, Mexico says they want a $42 per person cruise passenger tax. It's been delayed until July. You know what? This is what happens. We just talked about it. The reason why it's been delayed until July is because the cruise lines have gone back to them as a group and said, you do this, we're going to reposition our ships. And now Mexico's taking a deep breath. It's no different than the ETA that France and the European Union countries tried to do. It's finally kicking in now, but they delayed it for 2 years. It's like Real ID in America. It keeps getting delayed. It's been delayed since 2003. My guess is that $42 per person head tax on cruise passengers may get kicked down the road until 2026. That's my feeling. It hasn't kicked in yet. But the cruise ship lobby in Mexico is huge because they provide so many passengers that helps their economy. So stay tuned on that. Okay. Jack says we also went to Cuba by boat for 2 weeks. Okay. Matthew's saying greetings from Syracuse. Okay. And Sandra's saying greetings from Fort Lauderdale. Iris is saying greetings from Mikado. I know Iris. And how are you? Good. Gina's saying, I love Gibraltar. The rock tour is rocked, and Malaga is fabulous. Sailed there in April. You know what's great about Malaga? Marbella, especially at this time of the year, right? When it's not crowded. Evelyn's saying hi from Denver. Priya's saying, in your opinion, is Uluru, Ayers Rock, worth visiting? Yes, it is. But I'm going to tell you how to do it. You know, some people do point to point. They'll just go out there and come back. What you want to do is take the right time to do it at the right time. And what I mean by that is check out the Indian Pacific. It's the longest piece of straight railroad track in the world. It goes from Sydney all the way to Perth, but it will stop out there in the outback on many different places. You can get off for a day or two and then get back on. And then if you're going to do Ayers Rock, it's all about the lighting. We talk about this all the time. Go out there. There are opportunities for you to camp. Go out there the night before. You want to be there at around 5 a.m. for the sunrise. When the light hits it just perfectly, you'll understand why the Aboriginal dreams took place. I mean, it's magical. Okay? All right. Hello from East Africa, my favorite place, Tanzania. We love it. Tim's saying, where can I find auto rental reposition deals? Oh, now I go, because you wrote reposting deals. All right, let me explain what an auto rental reposition deal is. Auto rental companies, car rental companies, look at their fleets of cars like flocks of migrating birds. So, for example, in the summer months, they may have too many cars in Florida. In the winter months, they may not have enough cars in Florida. And the same thing happens in coastal cities like in California, San Francisco, Los Angeles, even down in Texas. And what happens then is they're not going to advertise this. It's done by individual franchisee. But if you call them and say, hey, you have a drive-away deal? They'll know exactly what you're saying. Remember, this is seasonal. So right now, if there are cars in New York, they may want them down in Florida at this time of the year. And what they'll do is they'll give you a ridiculously low fare like $8 a day, to drive their car down. And some of these driveway deals are not specifically to one destination. They're to a region, like within 3 states, because they all need them. So remember, the car rental company's not going to advertise it, but if you call Budget and Hertz and Avis and National, Thrifty, all those guys, they do have them from time to time in their heavily needed or heavily trafficked areas. That's what the deal is. Okay. Katrina's saying hello from Alabama. Deary's saying hi from Tanzania. Well, we got some Tanzania folks checking in. Okay. Reno says the best time to buy airfare to Puerto Rico from SFO is that still considered domestic in terms of time frame. Yeah, it is, but you haven't told me when you want to go. Without that, I can't answer that. Eunice is saying NCL, Norwegian Cruise Lines, booked our flight from Miami to Barcelona in Iberia economy. Is there a workaround to upgrade? Well, here's the problem. I'll give you the good news first. Because you bought the Air Sea package, if, God forbid, your flight is delayed or canceled, guess what? NCL will get you to their ship because you bought their whole package, right? You should still consider the insurance as well, but not from them. Buy it from a third party. Here's the problem about your question specifically relating to economy. Every cruise line has bulk travel deals with airlines because they're moving a lot of passengers, which means they bought your ticket on a bulk group discounted basis, which based on the terms of that particular fare category, more often than not means not endorsable, not refundable, and not upgradable. Check it out. Ask the cruise line, call them and say, what are the endorsements on my ticket? And then you'll find out exactly where you stand. Okay, Tanya says, is the gem fully open in Cairo? It is. Oh my goodness, they finally got smart and they opened it. President Sisi has been trying to wait. Look, the gem has been operating in terms of their workshops and all their restoration labs for more than 4 years. But President Sisi in Egypt wanted to make this a big world event with every head of state. I mean, all the pomp and circumstance, but he wanted to wait until Gaza was resolved. As we all know, sadly, it has not been resolved. And finally, the forces took over and said, look, let's just open it anyway. And it is now opened. And by the way, it's phenomenal. Now, when I was first there, they had special tours that you could book for about $250. And I'm telling you right now, they're worth it. That take you into the workshops so you can see the artisans and the restorers hard at work on everything they're bringing in from the desert almost every single day. Remember, only about 11 or 12% of what they have has been found. I mean, it's all still out there in the desert. And when we were there, this is not 4 years ago when I first went in, what was I watching them work on? No, I'm not kidding. King Tut's underwear they found, King Tut's bed. And I'm standing about, 2 feet from it, watching this work go on. It's phenomenal and well worth your time and money. Okay. Jack says, what is the status of so many Norwegian cruise line cancellations? The only way I can understand that, Jack, is that they must have had a ongoing mechanical problem or a shipyard problem in getting certain of their ships into recurring dry dock maintenance. That's the only thing I can think about because their bookings are strong. I don't think they wanted to cancel, but I think they had to. Okay. Okay. Eunice says she's cruising the end of March. The answer to your question is, welcome to my cough. The answer is, Eunice, about the 15th of January. That's 54 days out. Okay. Rory says, when should I book my flight on United Direct from Newark to Cape Town and back from Joburg? I'm going in August, and flights using my points seem absurdly high. Well, they don't seem absurdly high. They are absurdly high. This is a whole other issue with miles and points redemption. It's with no regulation and no rules. The airlines set everything they want to do. It's terrible. I mean, the redemption levels are absolutely terrible. And that's assuming they even want to give you a seat. Now, remember, if you're going in August, that's a shoulder season there, right? Going between their spring and their summer. So that's why they might have some available seats. But you said, when should I book my flight? If you're not going to use your points, then go ahead and book it now because you already know it's their spring going into summer and you want to catch that as soon as you can. But then again, give yourself a fare alert. You can do that on Google Flights and a few other services. So if the fare drops, you can pivot. Okay. Tim says, under the incoming administration, do you think airline regulation will continue to get better or worse? Well, there is no airline regulation. Remember, go back to 1978. That was airline deregulation. That was a federal law. What we're looking for now, I've been doing it for a long time, is not re-regulation, but effective rulemaking from the U.S. DOT. That's our only hope for passenger rights. And right now, the jury's out. I can't tell you because we don't know who the new U.S. DOT secretary is going to be. We know who's nominated, but nobody's been confirmed yet. So until that happens, I can't respond to your question. But the hope is that basic common sense will prevail and people will get the rights they deserve. All right. All right, here we go. I need to be in San Juan the first Monday of March. If that's the case, then you're going to January 2nd, 3rd, or 4th is when you want to book your tickets. All right. All right, Sharon says, I attended your seminars at last year's New York Travel and Adventure Show and found them very informative. Thank you, Sharon. Will you be sharing any promo codes before I purchase tickets for the next one? You know what? When the organizers send me those promo codes, I'll be glad to do that with you. Anthony, who produces this Global Travel Update, will make sure that you get them. Okay, Sharon? So stay tuned on that and look for that on our website as well, petergreenberg.com. Okay. Mike says he's getting ready for a Regent cruise to South Africa. I wish I was going. That's very cool. Mike says he's also connecting in Charles de Gaulle, hoping to see Notre Dame on the layover. For those of you who watched that the other day live, how phenomenal was that? It was emotional, wasn't it? Great. Hats off, first of all, to the French firemen. I got a shout out to my counterparts in Paris for saving what they could of a building that was fully involved when they got there. So first of all, hats off to them. And then to the workmen, the architects, the artisans, and even the electricians who were able to rebuild and restore this magnificent piece of architecture. I can't wait to go see it myself, Mike, so let us know what happens. Okay. Now, a couple of other housekeeping notes before we continue with questions. We have a Hidden Gems special that's going to be on Travel Detective, but right now you can actually watch it on our website, petergreenberg.com, and on YouTube as well. It's the Hidden Gems. This might surprise you. It's the Hidden Gems of Santa Ana, California. Even my friends in Southern California look at me like, what? You know why? Because most folks just get on the 405 and drive by it. They don't realize how cool it is. So check it out on our website, petergreenberg.com, also on YouTube, and later, of course, on the Travel Detective on PBS, Amazon, and Apple TV. And now, let's go to the photo of the week. Is it up? There it is. And congratulations to Wyman Lee. Now, listen what Wyman writes. I title this Life in Alignment, taken on a sailing trip in Greece off the island of Santorini. It's meant to capture true relaxation from a well-planned and well-deserved trip. Thank you, Wyman, for doing that. Although these days, that's the only way I want to see Santorini from a distance because of over-tourism. I've sailed into Santorini twice over the last 2 years, and both times took out the binoculars, took one look ashore and said, I'm not getting off the ship. People were elbow to elbow. It was out of control. And now the Greek prime minister has said he wants to reassess both Santorini and Mykonos in terms of the number of cruise ships allowed in at any one day. I support that. I applaud that. This is not to say it's anti-cruise ship. It's pro-everybody. It's a better experience for the people who are visiting Santorini and Mykonos. It's a better experience for the people who live there. It's a win-win all around. But we just need the cruise lines to work with the port authorities to realign their schedules so that you don't have an invasion, if you will, of cruise ship passengers as opposed to just an arrival. I mean, that's what I'm talking about even right now. Here we are in Gibraltar. There are some days here in the summer you'll have 4 ships in at a time. Forget it. Today, we're the only ship in. We had the best time. And you know what? Everybody had the best time. Not just us. The people in Gibraltar had the best time. Nobody was stacked. Everybody was relaxed. And it even allowed for the most amazing word that begins with a C. We had conversations. Wow, what a concept. So, Wyman, thank you very much for that photo. If you think your photo qualifies for the photo of the week, you know what to do. Just send it to us at photocontest@petergreenberg.com. And if we agree it belongs here, you get up right there next to Wyman. So thank you for doing that. Let's go to some of the questions you guys have asked during the week. Ben says, I've always heard of countries that are best for solo travel, but what country, cities, locations would you say are better enjoyed with a group of friends? Okay, this is my personal preference. Let's get back down to my definition of the beauty of travel. For me, it is by definition an experience meant to be shared. Now, have I traveled solo to many countries? You bet. I've been traveling solo almost all my life as a journalist. But I'm not solo for long, because the minute you meet somebody behind the front desk of a hotel, the person sitting next to you on the plane, the person on a bus, the person on a ship, you start that conversation and your world changes. Doors open, new experiences await. So I'm all in favor of solo travel, as long as you learn the wonderful art of initiating a conversation, finding common ground. And that's when your life changes. And that's the beauty of travel. All right. Leo says, I'm looking to give packing cubes as a gift for a family who travels internationally on long trips all the time. She appreciates the finer things. So I want them to maybe look nice and be higher quality, but obviously don't want to compromise their usefulness. You know what? I know you're asking about budget packing cubes. Here's the problem with budget packing cubes. The zippers suck. And it defeats the whole idea. Look, go to REI. You know that company. They make great adventure packing gear and traveling gear. Get the packing cubes from them. You will not be disappointed, and your friends will be duly impressed. All right. Thomas is saying, I'm looking at business first-class flights to Italy next fall and came across Fly Luxury, privy trips, exclusive business class, Arandrat. They all require sharing contact information and hit you with a pop-up chat agent. I engaged with one of them, which promises to do research and get back to me. Are these sites legit? I'll give you a qualified maybe. Because remember, if they're selling you discount first class or business class tickets, these are tickets that are going to come almost invariably with restrictions. Non-endorsable, non-transferable, non-refundable. So if you're saving $500 on a business class ticket that was $3,000 and you're paying $2,500, and then for whatever reason you can't use the ticket, you've now just lost $2,500. You buy a $3,000 business class ticket, it is by definition directly from the airline or through a travel agent, refundable in full. So keep that in mind. So are these places legit? Will they sell you one of those tickets? Yes. Is that the ticket you want? Are you so totally flexible with your time, you know you can commit to that one flight on that one airline on that one day? Then go for it. Okay. Francine says, what can I do in Orlando besides Disney World? So much stuff. You know, we've done stories on my show on Orlando without the theme parks. Get a look at the map of Central Florida and give yourself a 50-mile radius from Orlando. And you're going to be surprised what you can do using Orlando as your hub. All right? And maybe next week I'll come back and give you some ideas. But the answer of that is an unequivocal yes. Leah says, which country would be the best place to visit, see the Northern Lights for the cheapest and safest for solo travelers? Well, there are a lot of countries you can see the Northern Lights. My favorite, but it may not be the cheapest, is the Faroe Islands, located halfway between Iceland and Denmark. But you can also go to Iceland relatively inexpensively and see the Northern Lights. We will get you some more information on that because obviously it changes by day, time, week, and month. But Faroe Islands, I'm telling you, well worth it. Ari says, I'm thinking of planning a trip with my buddy when his folks move to Yuma. What's the best time to travel to get the most out of Lake Havasu? Well, obviously, between now and March is when everybody wants to go there, right? All the snowbirds. But I'll tell you a funny Yuma story if you want to go to Yuma. If you walk over the border there, okay, literally across the little bridge, as an American citizen, you can do that, bring your passport. You're going to come into a small town called Algodones. Ever hear of it? It's worth a one-day visit just for giggles. It's an entire town of dentists. And how many Americans cross that bridge every day to get their teeth worked on? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And where were these dentists trained? in America. And I knew there was something going on there when I saw American dentists crossing the bridge to get their teeth worked on. So many Americans, when it comes to dental, are either underinsured or uninsured. And it becomes a very interesting place just to visit, whether you get your teeth worked on or not. But in any case, I gave you the month for Lake Havasu. But while you're at it, just entertain yourself for a day. Walk across the border to Algodones. You'll come back going, I had no idea. Okay. Dee says I'll be flying into JFK next week and have a layover before my international flight that evening. I want to explore the city and need a place to leave my bags. Okay. Here's the thing. What's the time difference between the time you fly into JFK and the time your flight leaves? That's the key. If it's 5 or 6 hours, you can check in for your flight. But you're telling me it's going to be longer than that, and the airline that's flying that evening doesn't open their gates or their counters in time for you to do that. Well, what I would do is the smart thing is to go to the terminal, which is, I believe, Terminal 6 at JFK. That's where you're going to find the TWA Hotel. And there's an air train you can take that'll drop you right there with your bags. Go to the concierge or the bellman, tip them, have them hold the bags, and then get back on the air train to the Jamaica Railroad Station and take the train into New York on the Long Island Railroad or the subway. And that's how you're going to do it. All right? Take the air train to the TWA Hotel, Terminal 6, drop your bags, tip the guy or the woman, take the air train back to the Jamaica train station, take the subway into the city. That's how you do it. All right. Bridget says we'll be traveling to Paris this February looking for safety information. All I've been able to find is about being careful and watch out for pickpockets. You know what? If you were traveling to Paris, Texas, I would tell you to watch out for pickpockets. It's basic common sense. I've been going to Paris since I'm 12. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I've never had an issue with safety except once, and it didn't happen to me, when one of the people I was traveling with put their bag down near the Eiffel Tower and wasn't paying attention. Stupid. When you're leaving the hotel, make sure you have pants with zippers, right? Pack only what you need, no big handbags, and enjoy the city of light. Okay? All right. Priya says, my partner and I are going to Kenya mid-September. Well, we have a little ways to go there. We would love to add on gorilla trekking in Rwanda. Is it possible to do with $6 to $10,000 for 3 people? Yeah, it is. The permits in Rwanda are going to run you about $1,500 a person. That may go up a little more, but that's what it's going to run. The key, though, is not the cost of the permits. It's getting the reservation. They limit the number of interactions with humans, as they should. So since you're going in September, make those reservations now, and you will be in much better shape. Okay? Let's go back and see if there are any more questions that we've got before we have to say goodbye. Let me scroll down here. Some Yuma suggestions. Look up WeatherSpark annual climate. Yeah, well, she says the climate's brutal April through September. Don't we know that? And Camilla says, yes, Algodones is real. I know. So check that out. Okay. Hey, Mike's got a great suggestion. You know, the Canadian dollar is dropping against the U.S. dollar. The exchange rate for a loonie is now a U.S. dollar is 140 Canadian. Not a bad deal. All right. Thank you, Carol, for that nice note. And we posted where you can find the hidden gems of Santa Ana. And now it's almost 7 p.m. here in Gibraltar, and the sun has set. I want to thank you guys for watching. We're going to set sail tonight at about 10 o'clock from Malaga, and then it's off to our next destination, where I'll see you next week. We'll post the time and the day for the next global travel update. In the meantime, be careful of your status match in terms of getting elite status that may not be worth much. And remember what I said, friends do not let friends fly basic economy. And if I hear you did it, you'll be punished. How about that? Anthony, thank you so much for helping us out on the boards today. And again, Anthony will be posting some stuff to answer some of your questions earlier today on some of the subjects we talked about. Bottom line is, we will be on the air next week. The following week, we'll probably take a week off for the holidays, and then we'll see you right after that for the new year. But look for us next week for a global travel update for a place that's equally amazing. In fact, even more amazing in terms of where we are right now, where you have two seas, the Atlantic and the Mediterranean meeting. I'll give you a hint. 2 continents and 3 countries. Think about where we might be next week. We'll see you then, guys. Have a great week. And see us on the radio this Saturday when we're coming from the south of France. So check us out, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Eye on Travel on CBS. In the meantime, we'll see you next week.